San Francisco, partly cloudy, 56 degrees. On your radio, it's 810. KGO News Talk 810. I'm Chris Kidd, KGO Radio News.
KGO News Talk 810.
Well, good evening, Radioland. For the next 3 hours, you're listening to the Open Line to the West Coast over the world's greatest news talk radio station, KGO, San Francisco. 810 on the AM dial to the entire west coast of this North American continent. And your magic number into the switchboard, millions of you know what it's all about, is 80810. It's wide open here right now. If you're quick about it, you won't be waiting an hour or more to talk to more people than you'll ever meet in the rest of your life, 10,000 times more. As this signal reaches from Alaska to Mexico out to the Rocky Mountains, all points in between and around the world on the Internet. You're the stars of this program. That's why it's called the Open Line to the West Coast. You pose the topic, the question, the puzzle, the problem, the observation on the world, whatever it might be. If you want to tangle a little politics, hey, I'll give you a run for your money. Doesn't mean my medicine's more powerful than yours, but make a lot of folks think when they hear a little of both sides. And now while our producer in the San Francisco studio is setting up your call so I can see them on the computer screen where I am in my favorite place, a few comments here. First of all, I hope all of you heard one of the most entertaining hours on KGO ever in a long time. Did you hear Dr. Ron last Friday morning, 11 to noon? Dr. Ron Owens. That is most clever I think I've ever heard. I mean, it was really, really very good and funny. And if you want an example of somebody who is really quick on the comeback and clever at it at the same time, I hope you have a chance to hear that hour or get him to do it again. I thought it was just great anyway, and what can you say? It was good, very good. I had an interesting conversation today. Someone asked me a question, made me think. We're in a war against terrorists around the world. Even the strongest Bush bashers and haters in Washington, at least in public office, will stand up and swear they want to see the terrorists defeated. They have better ideas. Well, if that be the case, what do you think the terrorists and their public relation people would like to hear from the American media? What is it they would most like to hear to give them confidence that they're winning, that they can kill more people, that they can visit more brutality on innocent human beings, they can cut off more heads? It's become commonplace. People are growing numb. Now the announcement that they cut the heads off of Russian citizens because they're angry about Chechnya. Last week, they mutilated 2 American soldiers. And frankly, I have to say again, I know that 10,000 or more of our servicemen overseas are listening to this program. It's daytime there. They rebroadcast it. They pick it up off the Internet. I get hundreds of emails every week from them. And I have to ask the question again, or make the observation, I should say. I simply do not understand Americans who want and hope for America to lose its fight against the terrorists in Iraq. And there's no question about it, there are a large number of Americans who sit every day and simply hope for the worst, talk about the worst, amplify it, glorify it, point to it. We have whole news networks who are dedicated to simply predicting the failure of America, pointing to everything negative they can find and reporting nothing about the positive that is being done by 160,000 of our servicemen overseas and efforts elsewhere around the world. Newspapers that report everything they can find out about how we're working to locate the terrorists. Headlines in the New York Times this last week about how We're intercepting financial transactions from overseas to locate terrorist cells here in this country and elsewhere. And what's the headline? They call it a Bush incentive or a Bush effort after 9/11, as if there's something evil about it. Do you recall after 9/11, for the several months at least, that the Democrats and the opposition were standing up as proudly and defiant as anyone else, demanding immediate action to chase down these terrorists, to kill them, to win the war on terrorism? That every means should be brought to bear to find the terrorist cells, to locate where their money's coming from, who's supporting them. And now the New York Times calls an effort to do that an evil Bush evil Bush initiative. It's just amazing. Maybe you can explain to me the mentality of American citizens who enjoy all the comforts and security of this nation, who spend their every waking hour wishing for defeat, that America loses, that America is defeated in its fight against the terrorists, who have announced that their battlefront is Iraq. Al-Qaeda has announced their battlefront is Iraq. Every day you see it. You see the butchery, the barbarianism, cutting people's heads off, setting off car bombs in public squares. And yet they wish for America to lose. Why? For their own political purposes, to get back in political office. I mean, how low can you go? How low can you go? KGO time now, 10:14. Yeah, do you remember the dot-com bubble and how much you lost in your retirement funds? I sure do. About half. Fortunately, a lot of it's recovered. But if I'd had someone watching my assets and portfolio at the time, maybe it wouldn't have happened, because it didn't happen overnight. It just slipped away over months and months. Well, there is such a guy, I've learned. His name is Pat Vitucci, and he's an independent financial advisor. In fact, I helped him, took part in a seminar with him about 6 weeks ago, and tremendously impressed with the knowledge of his staff. Well, Pat's a nice guy to help you with your finances. He's an independent financial advisor, and he leads several AIG financial advisors' offices around the Bay Area. Pat's a local guy, and as I said, he's an independent financial advisor. That means he's not obligated to steer your investments into any particular fund or area. He is fee-based, so he doesn't work on commissions. He's not there to churn over your investments to make commissions. Pat has the same motivation you do. He wants your investments to grow, and he's a good guy to talk to. He'll be glad to provide a complimentary consultation. No obligation for you. And his mantra is, don't invest and forget. He even wrote a book of that title. That's how I met him. You can call Pat Vitucci anytime at 1-800-472-8305. He's Pat Vitucci at 1-800-472-8305. And there's the theme song of the Open Line to the West Coast, Stir It Up by Bob Marley. And that's what we do on this program with your help. You pose the question, the topic, we'll stir it up a bit. And all I promise you is you'll learn something over the next 3 hours. You'll hear something you never heard before, never thought about before, and then you'll never forget it. Now, just to continue a little bit of my monologue that I started with, what would the terrorist organizations in Iraq and around the world like to hear and read and see in the American media? What they would like to see is a daily diet of every little thing wrong with America, every little thing wrong with our military and its commander-in-chief, every failure. They would like to see scrolled across the tube constantly the number of U.S. servicemen who've died and made the ultimate sacrifice in this fight on the global war on terrorism. That's what they'd like to see. And they would like to see that the American public is not being told about any of the thousands of very positive and brave things that our service members do every day in Iraq and Afghanistan. Thousands. Not a few, not one or two, but thousands. They risk their lives to help schools and cities and towns and deliver food, as well as protect the people from the terrorists and the barbarians. And they're fighting cowards who don't stand up on the battlefield. They sneak up behind your back and they grab innocent people and tie their hands behind their back and then cut off their heads while they're still alive on camera to show what brave souls they are. And they run like cockroaches when they're ever confronted with a real soldier. Well, that's what... I don't know. Hey, we have a young person here in San Jose. You're on KGO.
Hi.
Hello there.
Hi, my name is CJ.
Well, hello, CJ. What's on your mind?
My question is, why don't school buses have seat belts?
CJ, I have the same question because every argument for why we should have seat belts in our cars is just as good for why we should have seat belts in our school buses. But the people who run the school buses don't want to spend the money, and I'm sorry, even the school districts won't do it.
Okay.
Because they claim that the buses are so safe they don't need it. I think it's outrageous.
Yeah, I do too.
Well, CJ, you should tell your school and have your parents tell your school. And tell them that you talked about it on KGO radio with Bill Wattenburg, would you?
Okay.
And maybe we can get our legislators to do something because it costs very little to put seat belts on the school buses. Mm-hmm. And young people like you know more about buckling up the seat belt than us older people. I'll bet when you get in your family car, you buckle up the seat belt all on your own, don't you?
Yep.
Well, that's a lesson they should learn, and it's very important, CJ. I'm glad you asked that question here on KGO Radio. And by the way, how old are you, CJ?
6.
6? Well, you speak
6.5.
You speak very well on the radio. You keep it up, will you?
Okay.
And would you read some good books for me?
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for taking my question.
Well, you call back any time. That was a very good question.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Jim and La Honda, you're on KGO.
Oh, hello?
Yes, Jim.
I wanted to know what happened to the moon with NASA. How come they quit the moon? Like, the space station really doesn't do that. I thought we'd have a moon base by now.
Well, many people thought that too, but I worked in the Apollo program. I remember the tremendous excitement of the first few landings. But then the public began to yawn after that. I mean, they hardly paid any attention. The news media didn't really give it much coverage. They accomplished all of the missions that were reasonable at that time. And then the program just died for lack of interest.
Well, but they were talking about they were going to make like rocket fuel from the polar things.
Well, not in those days. Not in the 70s. They weren't really planning to do that because it takes it takes a lot of equipment and money to start building a station up there, and the Apollo spacecraft really wasn't designed to do that.
Well, doesn't it take a lot of money to build a space station?
Well, it takes a lot of money to build a space station. It takes even more money to build a station on the moon and support it. So
okay. Well,
I mean,
if they wanted to go to Mars, wouldn't it be better to launch from the moon?
It's probably, as far as I know, the only way we could ever think about going to Mars, because there's no way we can lift enough payload directly from the surface of the Earth at reasonable cost to build a spacecraft that'll go to Mars and come back. Now, if you want to talk about stupid things like just getting to Mars and forgetting about coming back, yeah, that's pretty stupid. But
So
if
you're
you
on
want,
my side. We should go to the moon again.
well, we will be going to the moon again before we ever get to Mars. Let's put it that way, all right? And they're very serious about it now. That's why there are investigations underway. Hopefully there's some ice or water on the moon at the poles that can be used to make fuel, and that may be the only way we'd ever get to Mars. But, hey,
I hope they get the Hubble fixed.
A very good point, Jim. Thank you for calling. KGO, time now, 10:24. Thousands of folks have been making the very best investment they can make to their very best investment, their older home. They're replacing the old noisy, drafty single-pane windows with top-of-the-line dual-pane windows and doors. And banks and lending companies are very favorable. They'll tell you the advantage of the improvement in appraised value, the looks, reduction in energy bills. Well, you don't have to take quotes from high-pressure salesmen or companies that may not be around in business this time next year. There's a world-famous company, been around for many years, done hundreds, if not thousands of installations. They're called newpane.com, spelled N-E-W-P-A-N-E, like windowpane.com. You can log on to newpane.com and right on the tube, put in the dimensions of the windows in your home, measure them approximate as fine, or take the specs off of someone else's quotation. And for any and every combination you want to look at of manufacturer and style of window, you'll get a quotation for an installation complete, not a nickel more. And you'll never hear from them. You sit there for all week and look at 100 combinations. But when you compare prices, you're going to be calling them. And they'll send an expert to do precise measurements and schedule an installation generally within 28 days. And they'll give you customer references from Sonoma to San Diego and ask you to call or check them out before you sign up with them. Now, you can't beat that. Customer references plus free of charge comparative pricing that you can't afford to avoid if you take a look at it. You're going to get some surprises. And keep in mind, newpane.com supplies all these windows by the thousands to contractors and developers on a volume basis and volume discounts. And they can give you the same or better guarantees as anyone else. If you can't log on to newpane.com, you can call them. They have a toll-free number, an 800 number, an office in the Woodland-Dixon area. It's 800-614-7263. 800-614-7263 for newpane.com. Open line to the West Coast over KGO San Francisco, the most listened to program and radio station, and your special number into the switchboard is 80-810-810. Yes, I like that. Hey, John in San Leandro, you're on KGO.
How you doing, Dr. Bill? Good evening.
Good evening.
All right. First, I would like to start off by saying hi to my 3 kids, John, Clarence, and Demetrius, and my wife, Shalita.
They're the most important people in the world, and you can do it any time, John.
Thank you. They are most important. But who else is important to me is also my brother and my nephew who served in Iraq. Now, my brother, he back home because they shot off his leg and everything. He walk around handicapped.
Oh.
But see, I'm one of those Democrats, one of them bonehead Democrats who is against the war. The reason why, I mean, I would have been, it's not that the Democrats want us to lose this war. It's that we needed a more valid reason for the war. The reason that we gave wasn't valid at all. And then you get these minuscule countries to go along with it, Paraguay and all that. They got a big military force going on over there. It's just bogus. And like my brother said, he would never vote for a Republican again, and he wouldn't go back over there again because of the simple fact we're fighting for absolutely no reason. We're not finding the person who done the damage to America, who actually attacked the American soil.
All right. Well, you've made a pretty strong statement. Let me ask you a few questions here. Hey, John. I'm going to ask you a few questions now.
Sure.
You think we're fighting for absolutely no reason whatsoever?
We are fighting the Iraqi people for absolutely no reason whatsoever.
Have you heard Al Qaeda stand up and say that this is?
Al Qaeda was not a part of Iraq at all.
Oh, they're not. Oh, John, they're not. Hey, John, they're not. Hey, they're not there at all, John. Gee, that's funny. That's funny. All the top leaders of Al Qaeda have announced to the world that that's the battlefront. They're leading the charge. They're leading the terror. They're leading the killing. We've taken out some of their top leaders recently. Did you read anything about that?
Dr. Bill, look,
John, I let you make your statement. Now, I'm going to give you a little rebuttal. If you don't like it, we don't have a dialogue. What do you want?
Genius. I'm amazed by your brain.
What do you, John? John, I asked you a question. Did you hear of a guy named Zarqawi? Did you notice that Osama bin Laden's main spokesman was putting out a video here this week?
I noticed everything. You know that I listen to the news.
Did your brother see the graves of hundreds of thousands who were slaughtered over there by him?
Yep.
Okay.
I heard about the hundreds of thousands of graves and all that.
I respect your judgment. There's not much more I can say. If that's what you make out of it, then it speaks for itself, and I appreciate your call. Here's Chris Kidd with a KGO News Update.
Good evening, Dr. Bill. Here's a KGO News update. The only reason the Bush administration keeps our troops in Iraq is to avoid making it look like they were wrong about the war. So says Senator Russ Feingold, who told NBC's Meet the Press the only logical reason to stay in Iraq seems to be that President Bush and Vice President Cheney can say we were right about the war. Denver police have shot and killed a gunman who went on a shooting rampage at a Safeway facility Sunday. Authorities say Michael Ford opened fire at the grocery store warehouse, killing one person and injuring 5 others, including a police officer. 2 of the victims are in critical condition. The officer was shot in the leg. Ford was fired from the warehouse last February. British chocolate producer Cadbury plans to bury 250 tons of chocolate in landfill sites across Britain amid a salmonella scare. London's Daily Mail reports that more than 1 million chocolate bars and Easter eggs from British store shelves will be buried. A leaked wastewater pipe is blamed for infecting the chocolate back in January. This news report is brought to you by Symantec. No one falls for online scams they don't get. Symantec protects more people from more online threats than anyone in the world. Buy Norton Internet Security at Symantec.com/protection today. Let's go outside and check our traffic. There's an accident in Oakland, eastbound 580 at Park Boulevard. The car is facing the wrong way in lane 2. An accident in San Lorenzo, Bachman Road at Hesperian Boulevard. A stall on the Bay Bridge, eastbound 80 after Treasure Island. A motorcycle is stalled in the slow lane there. And the Bay Bridge, westbound 80th Toll Plaza, traffic is backed up to the mid parking lot, however, no metering lights. Tonight, mostly clear in the evening, then widespread low clouds and fog. Evening sea breeze 10 to 20 miles per hour, lows in the 50s. Monday morning low clouds and fog, partial afternoon clearing, coastal highs in the mid-50s to the mid-70s, inland highs in the 90s. Oakland 60, San Jose 67, San Francisco partly cloudy, 57 degrees. On your radio, it's 810 KGO News Talk 810. I'm Chris Kidd, KGO Radio News.
Some sweet love coming down.
And you're listening to the Open Line on the West Coast over the world's greatest news talk radio station, KGO, San Francisco, 810-810 on the AM dial up and down the Pacific coast of this entire North American continent. And you can join in on the most listened to program and radio station by dialing 8080810. Say, in the opening half hour of this program, I pointed out the kinds of things that the terrorists around the world would love to hear and be emphasized in the American news media. That is, everything negative about what the country's doing, everything pessimistic, constant reminders that we're going to fail, constant slam in the face of 160,000 of our service members, vast majority of whom know why they're there when they're polled, know what we're up against. And interestingly enough, the polls show that the majority of the American citizens know that we can't cut and run and just be defeated in the face of terrorists who would love nothing else other than that and only be emboldened by it. That's what they love to see. That's what makes them shake their rattles and attack and kill people and knife them in the back. But if you want any better example of it, hey, listen to the news breaks you get on this program. That's independent news service that's used, not KGO news. You'll notice the only comment on the Iraq War was to report that a Democratic opponent, Russ Feingold, said that Iraq is a total failure. The only reason we're staying there is so that the Bush administration will not have to avoid blame for going there, as if there were never any reason, never any encouragement on the part of the Democrats. Well, you know, it's interesting today in the news services, not only was Russ Feingold making statements from the Democrats that we should cut and run and admit defeat, but there were also people on the other side, other senators, pointing out the importance of winning and that we are winning. It's a tough battle. It's a difficult one. It's a dirty one. It's a vulgar and vicious one. But America's standing up to these guys, and our servicemen know why. How come you don't hear a little balance? Well, I guess, is there any better example to prove what I was just saying? And by the way, if you want to know who's responsible for us going after Saddam Hussein and who helped justify all the reasons and who thoroughly believed it, well, we can get up to the ranks of the top Democrats as well as Republicans. Let's begin with Nancy Pelosi here in her statements in 1998, 1990, 1999, 2000. Clinton, Gore, Teddy Kennedy, and top number one Democrat. Let's hear him so I can remind you of the hypocrisy going around. Here he is. Here's John Kerry.
Without question, we need to disarm Saddam Hussein. He presents a particularly grievous threat. I don't want this to be ambiguous. I do believe that Saddam Hussein is a threat. His continued deceit and his consistent grasp for weapons of mass destruction. So the threat of Saddam Hussein with weapons of mass destruction is real. Saddam Hussein must disarm or face the most serious consequences. I made a decision that Saddam Hussein is a threat. So the threat of Saddam Hussein with weapons of mass destruction is real.
Well, there's John Kerry. October 2002, November 2002, December 2002, January and February 2003, a month before the invasion of Iraq. What sort of vulgar hypocrites are there in the world when you hear all this business, huh? And not one word today in support of our troops. In fact, he sponsored an amendment that was defeated in the U.S. Senate last week, saying cut and run, admit defeat, get out. And listen to his encouragement for why it was absolutely essential that we go into Iraq and take out Saddam Hussein just 3 years ago. KGO time now, 10:41. If you ask anyone who's been through an emergency, floods, hurricanes, earthquakes, they'll tell you one thing they really missed at night was communication. Another one was a light. Two very important things. Horribly lonely without them when the power goes out and the batteries are dead. Well, the Sea Crane Company in Fortuna, California, has produced a real solution to that. It's a radio that requires no batteries and no power other than you can crank it in the final analysis or an emergency, and it'll play for a half hour after you wind it for a few minutes. And it also has a light. It'll give you that second thing you really need. It's called the Free Play Plus Radio, and it truly is amazing. And it's an amazing radio in terms of reception as well. And whether it's hurricanes, earthquakes, or tornadoes, when you've got a Free Play Plus in your home, you don't have to worry about finding fresh batteries for your radio or digging around for a flashlight. Summer storms have already started, and Sea Crane wants you to be prepared for whatever Mother Nature sends your way. And by the way, you ought to have one of these for yourself and other members of your family and your neighbors. This Free Play Plus radio is $109.95 with free ground shipping. And by the way, it has all the features the finest radio will find, AM, FM bands, and shortwave. And remember, the wind-up mechanism. You can put it out in the sun to charge its internal battery with solar cells or plug it in to keep it charged, but in the final analysis, it always works with a little physical effort. The number to order the Free Play Plus from Sea Crane is 800-522-8863. 800-522-8863. Or you can go online to ccradio.com and see there are hundreds of amazing products. The Sea Crane Company. Discover something new today. Carol in San Jose. You're on the open line to the West Coast, KGO, San Francisco.
Hi, Bill.
What's on your mind, Carol?
Well, I saw this movie, and in it, Denzel Washington says, explain it to me like I'm a 2-year-old. And here's my question. I understand that the Earth's moving. How come I can't feel that it's moving?
Well, it's a little hard. I don't know how to explain it to you like a 2-year-old, but first of all, there's something that in basic physics it says if you're moving at a constant velocity, that means straight line, same speed, you have no way to tell that you're moving at constant velocity other than to look around and compare yourself with other objects that you're leaving or approaching. Right. And you don't know whether they're moving and you're sitting still or you're moving and they're sitting still. You see, and that's the basis of relativity. Uh-huh. Now, in the case of these little specks called people on this enormous thing called the Earth is rotating around the sun, actually moving about 60,000 miles an hour in its orbit, fairly constant. And the orbit is so big that we don't feel there's actually acceleration and changing velocity all the time because we're in a circle. But it's so small we don't perceive it, you see.
Well, isn't it incredible that we've even been able to figure that out?
Well, you think so, but actually if you look at the really, really bright people going back, 1,000 years, who made some observations, not quite 1,000 years, but many hundreds of years, made some observations and figured out that the Earth was rotating around the sun because the belief was for a long time, in fact, even it was a religious belief, it was heresy to think otherwise, is that the Earth was the center of the universe and everything else was spinning around us. Uh-huh. So people concocted all sorts of models to explain how the stars revolved around us and the Earth and the sun went around, and they were ingenious. Some of them were close to being able to simulate what was happening, but never quite complete. And then some observations were made that really said, hey, wait a minute, we're revolving around the sun, which is a much more simple explanation, and the sun is moving inside the universe slowly, see?
It just seems so, I mean, you talk about, traditional thinking of practicality and how we think and go through life, and then to realize this fact, which is so, like it's real, my husband, he's pretty keen on stuff like this because I said, I'm going to call and ask you this, and he said, oh, that's a 5-year-old question.
Oh, yeah, well, he if he thinks it is, I'll tell you what, if he's listening about
he's not listening, but if you tell me...
Okay, well, then I'll tell you how you can teach him he thinks it's a 5-year-old question. You know that we generally believe that there are 365 days in a year, don't we?
Uh-huh.
Well, it's 365 and a quarter, really, a little bit more. That's why we have a leap year every 4 years to catch up. But a year means the time it takes for the Earth to go around the sun and come right back to where it started. You see what I mean? That's what we call a year. Mm-hmm. Now, a day is what we call from one sunrise to the next sunrise. You see, we call that a day, don't we?
Uh-huh.
And we see a sunrise because the Earth is rotating around its own axis. You understand that, huh?
I sort of do.
Okay. Well, most people believe, then, that the Earth would be rotating 365 times around its own axis in a year in order for us to see 365 sunrises, huh?
Uh-huh.
Ask him if he believes that, if he thinks this is a 5-year-old question, huh? And just ask him how many times...
John!
Ask him how many times...
Quick! Come here, John!
Ask him how many times the Earth rotates around its own axis in a year.
Uh-huh.
Huh? Is he there?
He was there. He was on the computer.
Uh-oh.
Now, here he is.
All right.
No, I've got Bill Wattenburg on the phone, and he's got a question for you.
Okay, you tell him.
No.
He's about to tell me to go take a hike. I can hear it right there. He's a little annoyed already.
Here he is.
You better tell him. Hey, John.
Yeah, it's different from the number of days in the year because we go around once, and so if the world wasn't rotating at all, the sun would go around the Earth once.
Mm-hmm. So how many rotations of the Earth around its own axis takes place in 1 year?
Well, let's see. Both the Earth and the sun are rotating in the same direction, and so if the Earth just doesn't rotate at all, when it went around, it would. Let's see, would it appear to go backwards once? So you have to make up that. So is it 366?
Well, I thought you knew. Your wife said this was all 5-year-old questions she was asking.
Yeah.
No, I'm just having a little fun.
Sure.
Yes, yeah, you're right, but don't be so uncertain. Yes, it is. Actually, most people don't realize, and a lot of scientists who think they understand everything, the Earth actually rotates around its own axis 366 and a quarter times.
Right.
In a year in which we see 365 and a quarter sunrises. And that's because you just analyzed it out very nicely. There is one retrograde revolution. The fact that the Earth is going around the sun gives you, if it weren't spinning, would give you a day in which the sun appears to rise in the west and set in the east.
Yeah, that's right. It's fun to look at those things. In fact, it's fun to look at the moon and figure out which direction the sun is.
Sure is. Hey, well, look, you're better at this than I am now. You should have been explaining these to your wife. See? All right.
Well, she'll listen to you more than she will me.
Now I'm in trouble. See? Hey, nice meeting you, and she's got a curious mind that's a delight. Okay, and so do you. You did very well on that.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye. KGO time now, 10:52. Boy, if you dare suggest our troops in Iraq deserve a little support, the news media ought to tell us a little about the good and courageous things they're doing. You should see the nasty emails that pour in from these defensive jerks. You should read some of it. It would really make you proud of the bottom end of the American population. David in Blaine, Washington, you're on KGO.
Hi there. Hey, I have to respectfully disagree with your monologue earlier.
Fine.
You know, I'm not happy about the fact that the American people are funding the biggest terrorist organization in the Bush administration right now. Our tax money is going into destroying other nations, specifically Iraq. Do you enjoy paying your taxes and knowing that your tax money is going to that?
Well, some of us have quite a different impression of what we're fighting in Iraq. Did you notice that they cut off the heads of 4 Russians today just for the fun of it? What do you think of that?
What do you think about...
What do you think? I ask you, wise guy, what do you think of barbarians that relish, just love to cut the heads off of human beings and put bombs in buses with kids? What do you think of that?
I don't like it any more than you do.
Well, then fine. Then why don't you do something about it? That's what our servicemen are doing.
Well, the problem that we have right now is...
Oh, in other words, they're a bunch of puppets over there, our American servicemen. Is that it?
No,
in your opinion? Huh?
You said it. I didn't.
No, you've been saying that. But, hey, I hear you, and you heard me. That's the best I can do for you. KGO time now, 10:57. First hour of the open line to the West Coast here. Not enough time to do justice to a caller, but I'll remind you the lines are open now for the next 2 hours at 8080810 over the open line to the West Coast, KGO San Francisco, the American Broadcasting flagship station to the entire West Coast at 810-810 on the AM dial. And we shoot for 40 to 50 or more of you on this program every 3 hours, and I'll need another 20 here the next hour coming up. And if you're outside the immediate Bay Area, of course, many of our calls come from all over the West Coast. Use that free long distance on your cell phone and dial one of the Bay Area codes, 415-510-708. 408-707-650. And then the 8080810. I'll be right back. This is KGO, San Francisco, San Jose, Oakland at 810 on the AM dial everywhere.
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. Gasoline prices have fallen some more, 4.5 cents a gallon on average nationwide for self-serve regular. That from Trilby Lundberg, whose company in Camarillo, California, surveys 7,000 gas stations.
Over the past 7 weeks, the price is down about 6 cents. And that is really not much considering the return to our refining capacity being up and heavy imports to fulfill demand.
Lundberg says no break to high prices is in sight, with the dispute over Iran's nuclear program keeping speculators nervous. Iran says the West should have patience and not rush it into deciding about proposed economic incentives. Denver police say they have no idea so far what caused a gunman to shoot up a Safeway supermarket's distribution center, killing one person, wounding 5 others, including a police officer. Cops shot the gunman to death. Safeway spokesman Jeff Stroh.
Our single concern tonight is with the victims and their family members of our employees, with the policemen, and all the other victims affected by this real senseless tragedy. 2 sections of Interstate 80 in northern Nevada are closed because of wildfires. They forced the evacuation of the small town of Elbers, northeast of Elko. Mike Brown is a fire info officer with the Elko Fire Department.
It's been a tough day today. We've had shifting, gusty winds, and you combine that with all the dead grass and the fuel that we've got on the ground, and it's just made it for a tinderbox.
Heavy rain caused thousands of power outages in the Washington, D.C. area and forced out rescue teams. Flooding in Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Maryland's eastern shore. There are evacuations. Meteorologist Chris Dolce is with the Weather Channel.
Rain is all along this frontal boundary all the way from the southeast up through New England, so it's a large area of rainfall. Within that area of rainfall, you have embedded heavier amounts, such as what has been occurring over the D.C. to Baltimore area.
Chris Dolce with the Weather Channel, and you're listening to ABC News.
My one favorite spread has been Smart Balance Buttery Spread. I'm Bob Harris, and I've got another favorite spread that I think you'll love. It's new Smart Balance Omega Peanut Butter. It contains no hydrogenated oil, no trans fatty acid, no refined sugar, all natural ingredients, and 1,000 milligrams of omega-3s per serving. New Smart Balance Omega Peanut Butter with 1,000 milligrams of omega-3. We deep roast premium quality peanuts to make it taste great.
How long will I be in chemotherapy?
What should I ask my doctor?
What are the side effects?
Will I lose my hair?
When will I start to feel better?
What about alternate therapies?
Who can I turn to for help?
If you're facing chemotherapy, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But now it's easier to find answers in one place, chemotherapy.com. From different types of treatment to side effects, to the right questions to ask along the way. The answers are at your fingertips at www.chemotherapy.com, your complete chemotherapy guide.
At a private ceremony in Sydney, Australia, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban, the country music star, got married. Patsy Ramsey, in the news for years after the suspicious death of her 6-year-old daughter, JonBenet, lost her battle with ovarian cancer this weekend. She was 49. JonBenet's murder remains unsolved, and suspicion continues to surround the parents. Lawrence Schiller wrote the book Perfect Murder, Perfect Town, which explored the case, and he says the parents made a series of mistakes.
They refused to give interviews for almost a year until they finally negotiated. They refused to take polygraph tests, and I think that in the later years they felt that they had been misled or misguided.
Schiller says the Ramseys did express regret that in the early days of the investigation they didn't cooperate more. With a wrap-up on a mix of appetites for speed and food, ABC's Bob Schmidt.
This was an event that had it all, motorcycles and competitive eating. The contest at a Harley-Davidson owners rally in Lynchburg, Virginia was to see who could eat the most ham biscuits. 12 contestants rose to the challenge, and the winner was a 37-year-old, 100-pound woman from Alexandria, Virginia. Sonia, the Black Widow Thomas, downed 60 of the biscuits, easily outdistancing her nearest rival. One secret to the Black Widow's success, Thomas started hopping up and down in the final minutes of the contest. She says the food goes down better that way.
This is ABC News.
What was your cable TV bill last month? Do you remember what you paid 10 years ago? Have you noticed the price of movie tickets lately? Are you seeing a pattern here? The cost of our basic information and entertainment needs keeps going up, but there is one medium that is still free. And you're listening to it. Local radio. Support the advertisers that support this radio station. And keep listening. We won't send you a bill. There are still some things you just shouldn't have to pay for.
I'm Chuck Severson, ABC News.
Good evening. KGO News Time is 11:05. I'm Chris Kidd. Here's what's happening in the Bay Area and the state. If you drive into San Francisco tomorrow on the San Mateo, the Dumbarton, or the Oakland Bay Bridge, it will cost $3. Take the Golden Gate, it will cost $5. However, if you take public transportation, it is free because Monday, June 26, is a Spare the Air Day. There are 25 participating transit agencies in the 9-county Bay Area participating by offering free transit all day on Monday. This includes all Bay Area ferries except the Benicia Ferry. The Bay Area Quality Management District expects the air quality to reach unhealthy levels tomorrow. This is because of high pressure, escalating temperatures, and low winds. This creates conditions that cause polluting gases to form ground-level ozone, which is the main ingredient in smog. Free public transportation tomorrow for Spare the Air Day. A brush fire burning in Contra Costa County near Antioch has spread to approximately 100 acres. The fire, which was reported around 8:30 p.m., is located in the area of Deer Valley Road and Empire Mine Road. The Contra Costa County Fire Protection District and units from the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection are responding to that fire. This news report brought to you by McDonald's. From the premium chicken sandwiches to the chicken McNuggets made with white meat, you can trust McDonald's for carefully inspected, top-quality chicken. Taste the difference today, only at McDonald's. Let's go outside and check our traffic. There's an accident in Oakland, eastbound 580 at Park Boulevard. The car is facing the wrong way in lane 2. A stall in San Francisco, southbound 101 at Cesar Chavez. The vehicle is blocking lane 1 there. And the Bay Bridge, westbound 80 at the toll plaza. Traffic is backed up just to the mid-parking lot. Overnight, mostly clear, then widespread low clouds and fog. Evening sea breeze, 10 to 20 miles per hour. Monday, we'll have morning low clouds and fog, partial afternoon clearing. Coastal highs from the mid-50s to the mid-70s, inland highs in the 90s. Afternoon sea breeze 10 to 20 miles per hour. Oakland is 60, San Jose 67. San Francisco, partly cloudy, 57 degrees. On your radio, it's 810, KGO News Talk 810. I'm Chris Kidd, KGO Radio News.
Here we go for the second hour of the open line to the West Coast over the world's greatest news talk radio station, KGO San Francisco, 810-810 on the AM dial everywhere. And a few lines open for you here at the top of the hour at 8080810. Come along, load them up. Whatever you think is the most important for millions to hear out there is what we'll be talking about. That's why it's called the open line to the West Coast. Had an interesting thought here talking to my producer Jay and engineer Shane. If you recall the lady Carol who called in the last hour and made the comment that her husband had told her that her question she was asking about the Earth was a 5th grade or 5-year-old question or something. Then I put him on the air and I gave him a question. I was thinking to myself, I should have hit him with one he couldn't answer. And then he would be calling one of our favorite sponsors here real quick, like, called Absolutely Fresh Flowers. I'll be reading that ad for you in sometime this hour. But, oh boy, he doesn't know how close he came. I wouldn't have done that, but he was a clever fellow. He answered the question. Tim in Los Altos, you're on KGO.
Hey, Dr. Bill, how are you?
What's on your mind?
Okay, a couple of quick points. That last caller got my juices flowing, so you'll forgive me. First, I have family members who served in Vietnam. One was a medic at a hospital in Long Binh, and the other was a combat medic with the 5th Special Forces Group, Mike Force. When they came back from the war, they were spat upon. Feces was throwing on them as they were disembarking their aircraft at Travis Air Force Base. And a lot of these same people from that generation have infiltrated the schools and universities today and are indoctrinating our young kids into believing that America is always at fault. And it is reprehensible to me to hear some of that crap. Now,
well, as an aside, I was there. I was never so sick in my life as to watch the American attitude towards our servicemen when they returned from Vietnam. I really, it was, to me, one of the most shameful days in the history of this country. Well, I call it today the Jane Fonda syndrome.
They don't want to acknowledge what had happened then. They say we support the troops, which is so disingenuous when you can't support the troops without supporting the mission. And the thing is that if America doesn't have a resolve to see this through, in spite of the mistakes we've made, we are dealing with a deadly enemy who doesn't care about our politics.
Well, you're exactly right as far as I'm concerned. And here's what bothers me. If you talk to anyone in their life, they can tell you of times when they undertook some endeavor, some project, and it became far more difficult than they thought. And you ask them, did they appreciate their friends abandoning them, the sideliners sitting on their butts, wagging fingers at them, saying you're going to fail? Can you imagine 49er fans in their worst season who go there and just talk about nothing but predicting their failure?
Well, the sheer irony is that most of this blather is coming from one of the most wealthy areas on the planet, the San Francisco Bay Area. These people eat their quiche, they drink their white wine from Napa, and can find everything under the sun to complain about. It is just amazing to me.
Hey, look, they have a right to, but I always remember some of the wisest words I heard, and that is, we may have a right to do a lot of things, but it doesn't make it right to do it.
That's right.
Okay, and that's my attitude about it. And hey, I appreciate your opinions here, Tim, and thank you for calling.
All right.
Okay, bye-bye. Mike in San Jose, you're on KGO.
What things are you doing?
Mike, you're on the air.
Hello?
Hey, you have to turn your radio down here now. I can't...
Hello?
Mike, can you hear us?
Hello?
All right, Mike, you should have turned your radio down. Marie and Campbell, you're on KGO.
Hi, Bill. Thanks for taking my call.
Great. What's on your mind, Marie?
My daughter just came back from the Holy Land. She went to Greece, and she went with the church from Athens, and the priests, they call them their papuli. So they took, I'm Greek myself, so when she went to the bus to take one of the cousins, she wanted to go, but she was a little frightened. She could go. And when she got there was a place for her. And the papuli says to her, that's what they call their priests, well, why don't you come with us? And she says, yeah, but I'm afraid to go. And he says, come on, they've been fighting like that for years. You're not going to come on, we don't worry about that. And so, they had 3 women chanters there in their group from their church. And they got over and they went to the Holy Land. They went to Palestine too, I want you to know. And my daughter looked at them, and and the way they said it, they said, "Oh, well, they've been looking for land all their lives." So they went to Jerusalem, they went to the Sepulchre, they went to Golgotha, they went to all the monasteries, and she left our names for prayer. She went to the Jordan, and she had a wonderful time.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, although, but it is very clear, and I know many who've been there, that it is dangerous as well.
Yeah,
unfortunately, such a sacred place.
Can you let me tell you, my dad left at 17 from Turkey. He was a Turkish Greek, and he was in that Holocaust, never to see his mother or 2 of his brothers. And he fled to France, Marseille, France. And the rest of his family there was 5 brothers and 2 sisters.
Okay, well, look, Marie, I'd like to continue, but we're running short of time here and a lot of folks waiting.
Well, I just want to tell you before I hang up that I don't approve of the war. They've had Christians' war, and it's not a good war. Bring our troops home. I am for our troops, too. God bless you, and goodbye.
Okay, you had your say here on KGO. And Alan in Castro Valley, you're going to be next up right after this. KGO time now, 11:14. There's a place in Southern California, a flower company I've been telling you about for almost 12 years. Absolutely Fresh Flowers. Well, they've changed their name to make it a little easier for a lot of folks. They're now called Farm Fresh Flowers. Well, here's an important announcement from Absolutely Fresh Flowers or Farm Fresh Flowers. And get your pencil ready and stand by to write it down. This is a very special phone number. And after you hear the news, you want to remember it. They're now called Farm Fresh Flowers, as I said, and if you ever need the lasting gift of beautiful flowers, this is the company to call. Farm Fresh Flowers still offers the same great product, the same delivery, and the same guarantee. And best of all, Farm Fresh Flowers is still owned by the same great people who specialize in delivering humongous amounts of fresh-cut flowers with every order. The perfect gift for anniversaries, birthdays, or just to say I love you. Or as many of my friends say, good preventative maintenance. The flowers they deliver are guaranteed to last at least 10 days after arrival. The package is shipped by FedEx overnight delivery, with care and handling instructions included for extra freshness. So now get that pencil ready, because here's a number when you need it. If you're like me, you're really going to need it. You can call Farm Fresh Flowers at a toll-free number after 7:30 a.m. tomorrow, 800-999-2109. Again, that's 1-800-999-2109. Or on the web, you can look them up at farmfreshflowersplural.com. And when you call or order online, be sure to remind them that you heard it from Bill Wattenburg on KGO. The most listened to program and radio station, and you can join in by picking up the telephone and dialing 8080810. Their line's open in all areas. And by the way, I try to post on my website on KGO.com. Go to KGO.com. Over on the left side, click on personalities, and you'll see all our faces. Scroll down to mine, and there it says my web page. There you'll find dozens and dozens of articles and reports to give you some reference to the topics discussed on this program. And here's one of the latest ones I'm going to post for you. You know, you heard me talk about all the hypocrites and the opposition to our service members and our efforts in Iraq. One of the main ones has been Congressman Murtha, who constantly reminds everyone that he was a war hero, decorated Marine, and yes, indeed, he did serve. But as you can usually, most intelligent people know, when you find someone who is becoming excessively righteous, usually look a little deeper and you'll find another side to it. There is a report from another congressman, Don Bailey of Pennsylvania, who was, by the way, decorated Vietnam veteran, Bronze Star, Silver Star, was on the front in battle and saw a lot of conflict there, a lot of combat. He claims that Murtha admitted to him once that Murtha, didn't deserve his Purple Hearts. When some news services looked into it a little more, they find that Murtha served a year in Vietnam, yes, but in the intelligence. He was an intelligence officer. He was not on the front line. He later requested Purple Hearts, would never release his service records to show why or for what reason he got Purple Hearts. And you might read it, use your own judgment. You'll find this posted on my webpage. It's from a news service, let's see what it is, CNS News. Murtha's war hero status called into question. As usual, there are two sides to most stories when you're dealing with the righteous and the martyrs. Alan in Castro Valley, you're on KGO.
Hello. I'd like to challenge the premise that you have to support the war in order to support the troops. I know many people.
Now, wait a minute. You've never heard me say that you had to lockstep and support and agree with every reason for going there, but you have heard me say our servicemen are over there, and that's all I care about, and they are confronting an enemy, and it serves no purpose to undercut them. That's all you've ever heard me say.
Okay, but they're not fighting Al-Qaeda and the people who actually...
Oh, the hell they're not? What do you think the leader that was taken out last week was doing?
He was not a high-level target, and they had...
Are you kidding? What have you been smoking anyway?
Nothing at all.
You mean Zarqawi was not a high-level target? He was just praised by by Osama bin Laden spokesperson yesterday as being the Prince of Al-Qaeda.
Of course, they're going to play it up.
Oh, I see.
But
hey, look, I wish I could have an intelligent conversation with you, but in my opinion, from what you've just told me, I'm sorry. I could respect your opinions, but you're a blabbering idiot, okay? You haven't even read what's going on in this world, and you defile those who've died over there and had their heads cut off by these butchers by claiming that they're no real problem, okay? Hey, there are other programs. You get 40, 50 hours of this stuff on late-night talk radio. Go lean on them somewhere. They love it. Hey, Larry in Coos Bay, Oregon, you're on KGO.
Hi, Dr. Bill. Hey, I'm a little bit nervous. I've been listening to you for about 20 years or so. I just want to change it up a little bit. I had two quick questions for you, opinions. Do you see within a 50 to 100 years China overtaking us as a superpower, and how many cosmonauts do you suppose the Russians actually lost before they got that one up there in 50?
Well, those are two quite different questions there. First of all, I think there's a very good chance that China and India may even overtake China, will become and overshadow this country and Western Europe for the following reason. They are training enormous numbers of highly competent technical people. They are producing 10 times as many engineers and scientists as we are in this country. And the economy of this world is driven by technology. When the day comes that all we have are so-called services, banks, insurance companies, shipping, our money will become worthless. Our homes will become worthless. Why in the hell would the world need us? If the products are being built in China and India and elsewhere, they will become the superpowers, just as the Japanese did in their own right, well, they'll be in trouble too trying to keep up with them. Now, there's no question that's a very real possibility, and not in 50 years, maybe 20, maybe 15. Okay.
Wow.
Now, as far as the cosmonauts, I have no information that they lost large numbers of them. We do suspect they lost a couple more than what they told us, but now the records are open. I don't think there's any evidence that they've concealed anything in the last 10 years.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bill.
Hey, thanks for calling. Larry, you speak well. I want to hear from you again. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye. KGO time now, 11:24. About 9 years ago, I installed new dual-pane windows and doors on an older home. $7,800 investment. Then about 3 years later, I discovered a company called newpane.com, spelled N-E-W-P-A-N-E, like windowpane.com. I logged on to newpane.com, put in the specifications of the job I'd already had installed. I got back a quote from newpane.com, exactly the same windows fully installed, $1,300 less. And a lot of folks have discovered the same. Before you sign up anywhere, you cannot afford to avoid a comparative pricing, free of charge, right on the tube. Log on to newpane.com, put in the specifications on anyone else's quote, and see what price you get from newpane.com. Because they supply all the top-of-the-line windows that anyone else that can supply to you or install. And they supply these windows by the thousands to contractors and developers on a volume basis, volume discounts. And they can give you the same or better guarantees as anyone else. And when you call them, when you find out what the pricing is, you'll be calling them. They'll send an expert to do precise measurements for the windows for your home and schedule an installation generally within 28 days. And they'll give you customer references from Sonoma to San Diego and suggest you call or check them out. If you can't log on to newpane.com, they have a toll-free number, an office in the Woodland-Dixon area, 800-614-7263. That's 800-614-7263 for newpane.com. It's always fun to check the email during the commercial breaks. Here's a cute one from Jay Birdhouse, who sends a lot of notes along. It seems that Father O'Neill was in the parish one day, and he answered the phone, and he said, "Hello, this is Father O'Neill." The other end said, "Well, this is the IRS." Father O'Neill says, "Can I help you?" He said, they said, "Yes, you can." He said, "Do you know Ted Hooligan?" Father says, "Yes, I do." IRS guy says, "Well, is he a member of your congregation?" Father says, "Yeah, he is." IRS guy said, "Did he donate $10,000 to the church?" Father said, "He will." Clever. And in terms of response, many times I've told you that you're foolish not to take a look at the best American cars that are available now before you spend that $30,000 to $50,000, $60,000. And a lot of folks have discovered that, who stop looking, and it's really not fair to your own neighbors and yourself and your own economy. Well, as a matter of fact, I mentioned several cars in the past few months that I've driven, thought were tremendous. The Buick Lucerne, for one thing, is really, really ripping the competition apart for $30,000 less. And the Chrysler 300 and the Lincoln Town Car. Well, here's one of the latest reports. I'm trying to check who it came from. This was an independent tester. However, he reports on government crash tests. that among the 10 safest cars, indeed, was the Chrysler 300 Dodge Charger, the Lincoln Town Car, the Buick Lucerne, and the Lincoln LS. Now go out and take a look at the quality and what you're getting for the money compared to anything you can buy overseas. And I'm telling you, you're going to get a real surprise. Hey, you may still like that nice brand name and what you think is the prestige. But as I pointed out, I noticed something 2 weeks ago. I happened to be down to Carmel, and one of the most piff-whiff resort golf places you can imagine. And I happened to notice the big money down there now. Over half the cars in the parking lot were American cars. 2 years ago, 80% were all foreign. All over the place. Lincoln Town Cars, Chrysler 300s, the Buick Lucerne. Of course, I guess the middle income are still intoxicated with having a foreign label on it, but that's where the big boys are these days. Here's Chris Kidd with a KGO News Update.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Bill. Here's a KGO News Update. 1 person is dead and 6 others have been wounded after shots rang out of a Safeway distribution center in Denver, Colorado. Republican Senator Chuck Hagel has said that the U.S. should avoid any talks of a preemptive strike in order to deal with North Korea's potential test of a missile that could reach American soil. Appearing on CNN's Late Edition, Hagel said the U.S. is nowhere near attacking North Korea, and people suggesting otherwise should, quote, shut up and stop it. The lead guitarist for funk R&B ensemble Kool and the Gang is dead. A post on the band's website notes co-founder Clady's Charles Smith died on June 20th at the age of 57 following a lengthy illness. Smith is survived by 6 children and 8 grandchildren. British chocolate producer Cadbury plans to bury 250 tons of chocolate in landfill sites across Britain amid a salmonella scare. London's Daily Mail reports that more than 1 million chocolate bars and Easter eggs from British store shelves will be buried. A leaking wastewater pipe is blamed for infecting the chocolate back in January. This news report brought to you by the Reno Hilton, home of epic entertainment and sizzling summer events. Boss Gags, Leonard Skinner, Los Lonely Boys, hot August nights. Visit RenoHilton.com for best rates and packages. Let's go outside, visit our traffic. There's an accident in Oakland, eastbound 580 at Edwards Avenue. The car is on the right-hand shoulder. An accident in San Francisco, southbound 101 at Cesar Chavez. The car is up on an embankment there. And there is accidents now in Redwood City. The CHP received a call that gang members were intentionally ramming vehicles. 4 to 5 vehicles have been hit in the Redwood City area, 4th Avenue, Fair Oaks Avenue there. San Jose, an accident southbound Coleman Avenue at 880. Cones are scattered all over the roadway there. And the Bay Bridge, westbound 80 at the Toll Plaza. The backup is down to only 5 minutes. Well, our Monday morning will start out with low clouds and fogs, partial afternoon clearing, coastal highs from the mid-50s to the mid-70s, inland highs in the 90s, afternoon sea breeze 10 to 20 miles an hour. Oakland is 60, San Jose 65, San Francisco partly cloudy, 55 degrees. On your radio, it's 810, KGO News Talk 810. Have a great week ahead. I'm Chris Kidd, KGO Radio News.
More than 20 years, I've told you about an amazing radio called the CC Radio. Well, now it's called the CC Radio Plus from the C. Crane Company. But everyone has tested this radio, including Popular Science, has called it the world's greatest AM tabletop radio. By tabletop, they mean it's so portable that it plays at home on a power cord or anywhere else on 4 D-cell batteries. But truly, this radio, the most sensitive AM radio you can buy, has all the power and punch of the biggest console radio in someone's living room. It's more than just an AM band. It's all the AM, FM, TV, weather bands, even a weather alert feature that works as an all-hazards alarm. And when you pick up this radio and feel the weight of it, you'll discover something else. It has a speaker, a big speaker tuned to voices. If you love talk radio, or you know someone who does, they will love the CC Radio Plus. It's priced at just $164.95, and that includes free ground shipping. You can give the C. Crane Company a call at 800-522-8863 to order the CC Radio Plus or anything else in the 93-page catalog. And by the way, get a free copy of it. It's worth reading. That's 800-522-8863. In San Jose, you're on KGO San Francisco, the open line to the West Coast.
This guy never zip.
Oh, yes. One of my favorite air conditioning experts.
Yeah,
what's on your mind?
And, all these people now, summer's here, people are putting some of the new refrigerants in some of their older cars, and you have to really be warned that it'll actually dissolve the hoses. The new refrigerants really like to eat up that rubber hoses.
Well, by the way, now you've just triggered a thought. A couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was last weekend, a fellow called and said he was having trouble with the air conditioning in his older car. He took it in. They told him that he had to replace the coils as well as the compressor, everything else, $500-600. I may have been remiss in what I told him, but I thought that was an overkill. But do you see that happening quite frequently?
It is. The automotive industry don't really want to tell people, but there is a drop-in replacement for the old R12 refrigerant. And the trade name is 416A.
Wait a minute, hold on. Let me write some of this down. 416A.
Yeah.
That's the trade name for the
actual trade name, the number they give it. It's called 416A.
New refrigerant. When you say drop in, you can just put it in and replace the old...
It's actually a blend of the new and the old, and it's made to drop into the old systems that use the mineral oil instead of the new polyester oil.
All right. Well, I don't know what you mean by that now. Look, when you say old system, suppose we go back to a 1990s car,
right.
For instance. Would that be considered an old system?
Yeah. Well, the older systems, the R12 used mineral oil as a lubricant in the system, and the new refrigerants had to have a synthetic. They're using polyester oil.
All right.
So you can't mix the two in high quantities. But if you use the new refrigerants in the older systems, it'll actually thin out the mineral oil to the point where it won't lubricate, and it'll ruin the compressor. Also, it will dissolve the rubber. Any rubbers, you got to use new synthetic rubbers in it.
Now, if it dissolves the rubber, it means little particles of that stuff will get in the coils everywhere then,
well,
huh?
No, it gets in the orifices, and if you have a TX valve in the system, it'll plug that up also. It dissolves it. You can kind of smell it if it comes out in your hand. It smells like ground-up rubber.
Boy. Well, I may have been remiss in my comments to the guy then. It may be that, in fact, the whole system was destroyed and it had to be replaced in his car. Huh?
It pretty much has to. You have to replace everything because you can't really filter it out because it just coats everything.
Have you seen this problem frequently in older cars?
Oh yeah, I've worked on some dash here on motorhomes and stuff. They've taken these places and they think they're getting a good deal, and these people drop in new refrigerant and it might work for a couple of weeks or whatnot, and then it starts dissolving the rubber and plugging up the orifices in the system.
So for a bargain, they end up losing the entire air conditioning system, and they're looking at a $500 to $1,000 job, huh?
That's right. And the automotive industry and the garages will not recognize that drop-in replacement, which is 416A. They only recognize 134A, and they say they will not work on it unless they can retrofit it, which means changing out the hoses. And I don't think the compressor, but it's mainly the hoses and some fittings on it, which costs you quite a bit of money.
Well, wait a minute. Now you've lost me again. You're saying that most repair places want to use something else other than what you're saying this 416A can be used?
The 416A in the refrigeration industry is what replaces R12 in some applications, but the automotive industry will not recognize it. They stick with 134A. If you want to change over an older system, you have to change the hoses and change the oil in order to use the new 134A refrigerant.
Now, is there anything against the law in people asking for this 416A you're talking about?
No, there isn't. That's what it was made for. It was made to replace the old R12 as a drop-in refrigerant. It's a blend of the new and the old, and that's what's made for. It's a transition refrigerant.
And it's still available, huh?
It sure is.
Well, I'll be darned. Hey, well, that's interesting to know because I guess I didn't understand this. I thought everyone had to use this 134A, what the automotive people are using now.
Well, that's the new refrigerant they're putting in new systems, but there's a lot of older cars out there, and there is a replacement refrigerant that will take care of the old R12 system. I've been doing a lot of it. You just replace it. Instead of R12, you put the refrigerant in there, and it takes care of it. You don't have to replace anything.
I'll be darned. All right. Well, let's hope folks that have that problem will ask some questions then before they get taken to the cleaners, huh?
Yeah.
Well, Mike, as usual, you're very informative. I'm delighted you called, and thanks again.
All right.
Okay. Bye-bye now. KGO time now, 11:43. Well, there's another reason why you really ought to be talking to Pat Bertucci if you don't have someone watching your finances and your retirement portfolio. He and his staff have an amazing amount of experience in this business, and you can get a hold of him for a free consultation. He's Pat Bertucci at 1-800-472-8305. That's 1-800-472-8305. Member SIPC. Yes, and we're back to the open line to the West Coast over KGO, San Francisco, 810-810 on the AM dial everywhere. Have another email here I'll read to you. Last week I read a note from a lady who was quite happy, said that her husband was about to pay a little over $60,000 for a fine foreign touring sedan, and they took my suggestion, went out and tried a few American cars, and they bought the Buick Lucerne, which she loves. And then she gave me a report on how they saved $30,000. He took 6 months off. They're going around the country, and she figures she'll still have $10,000 left when she gets home after staying in fine hotels all the way. I have another one here now from another lady. Said she heard that story on the air, and they went out this week, and her husband was about to do the same thing, and they ended up buying the new Ford 500, which she is just tickled with, she says, and they're going to do the same thing, and she figures they just saved $30,000. By the way, I drove that car, and it is really impressive for a medium-sized family sedan with a lot of space, decent mileage, good power, very well designed. Go try them. You may like to find foreign machines for twice the money. That's your business, but you're a fool not to at least see and make a comparison. It's a world of difference from what it was 10 years ago. Derek in San Francisco, you're on KGO.
Hello?
Yes.
I'd like to address this whole withdrawal issue. Basically, first of all, we have polls that have shown 82% of the Iraqi people want us out of there.
No, you're full of crap. You're full of crap. Come on. Don't even start that stuff. You can give me an opinion if you want, but don't try to tell us some facts that are just sheer nonsense. It's the other way around. 82% of the Iraqi people and their leadership and their government on both sides understand they need help for security until they build their own. And they made that announcement again this week. They made it last week. They made it the week before. So where in the hell are you getting this?
People can just pick up Newsweek and read about
people can just pick up the media that wants to see America defeated, right? I mean, you really love that stuff, huh?
No, Mr. Maliki, who's now the Prime Minister of Iraq, is calling for a timetable for withdrawal of U.S. troops.
Mr. Maliki is not calling for a timetable. Mr. Maliki just made a statement this morning, official one. Did you read it?
What did that say?
He just made one 2 days ago.
Well,
that they need assistance and help until they can build their own forces, and he is not putting a timetable on it that'll tell the terrorists that we're cutting and running. He did not do that. He did not put a timetable on it, okay?
Okay, so is this Newsweek article that I'm reading says calls for a timetable?
Newsweek, why don't you read the New York Times, San Francisco Chronicle, listen to CNN. They'll all tell you we're defeated. America's made a mistake. Our soldiers are making sacrifices for no good reason. I mean, if you love that stuff, if you wallow in it, just keep wallowing in it. That's all I can tell you. Susan and Tara Linda, you're on KGO.
Oh, hi, Dr. Bill. We've been listening to you for years, and we have you to thank for debunking the mother of all environmental scams, the Sierra Club, and all that has spawned over the last, 20 years. And we listen to you pretty religiously. I kind of want to ask a question about what do you see the Democratic Party kind of putting forth in 2008? It seems like everybody's put a stick in the fire with a little marshmallow on it, and they were idiots the last time around. They still fight and squabble with each other. They're starstruck by any celebrity that they can get a photo op with. And who do you see really that has a real chance of putting that party together at all?
Well,
and
Susan,
I can't thank you for all your good work.
Well, Susan, again, in the matter of politics, it's all opinion. I have the same misgivings about the Republicans as I do about the Democrats. I really wouldn't bet on any candidates right now. There's some in the Democratic Party I think are very honorable and I respect, and there are others I think are just two-bit hypocrites. But, there's some in the Republican Party who fit the same bill. I just can't give you a good guess of who I think the candidates are going to be. And as you know, when it comes to presidential elections and the primaries, there's always a surprise there. I met a guy here a month ago and had a chance to talk to him for about an hour that I was fairly impressed with, more than I'd been in the past, John McCain. But what are his chances? I don't know. See? Best I can do for you there. KGO time now, 11:51. Yes. 6 minutes to go on the second hour of the open line to the West Coast. And then another full hour after the midnight news. Your number? 8080810.
Just let me know if you wanna go.
Hey, Randy in Stockton, you're on KGO.
You got a lot of nice
Gonna listen to ZZ Top a little bit there.
Yes.
I have a question for you. I'm not too happy about the crown jewels of the national laboratories being auctioned off to the highest bidders. And I know Berkeley won their contract, but they're not really into weapons like Lawrence Livermore and Los Alamos. And I think the new push for mini nuclear weapons and to privatize that. I mean, what are your opinions on that?
Well, you're talking about the bidding that Congress has demanded for who will be the managers of the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. They directed 2 years ago that all the laboratories be put up for bid. Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory The University of California did win the competition there. UC, with some partners, won the competition at Los Alamos. Although instead of just being the University of California alone, it'll be a new corporation now.
Washington with Bechtel, and that's privatizing our nuclear arsenal.
Well, it's not privatizing it much more than it was before. The University of California is still in charge of the science that will be done and most of the policy. But they took on others to help in the management. These laboratories have become enormous enterprises. Look, you have to realize that you're talking about 10, 12,000 employees in these places now.
Oh, I know. I just know that the world's best scientists are there. I mean, they're not happy about, maybe their retirement is going to be reduced and privatized or whatever.
Well, this is what your Congress dictated, though. You better look to them. They're the ones that dictated it. Your congressmen and senators knew the consequences. Now, Livermore will be the next one to be competed. So the university will have to compete for retaining the contract for Livermore, which is now in the midst. In the works. I think within 60 days the bidding will start, or maybe have to be concluded. I don't know.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I would hope that the University of California retains management of that laboratory, even if they do take on some partners. And beyond that, I really can't guess what else might happen.
It seems like if a private company manages it, and then they can benefit off the government's immense investment over the last 60 years or whatever it's been.
Well, it seems that way, but it's not as easy as you might think. Many of the Department of Energy laboratories are managed by other private companies. Lockheed Martin, for instance, manages Sandia, the sister laboratories to Los Alamos and Livermore.
Yeah.
Battelle manages many of the laboratories. There are a variety of different contractors. Lockheed Martin, I think, also manages the Oak Ridge National Laboratory. So, but I could tell you wouldn't really characterize any partnership with the University of California as being a private enterprise in the sense of an aerospace company.
Right. That's what's changing, and if it gets, I don't know, it just seems less secure.
Well, first of all, if you want to know my opinion, I've argued against the whole process because I think it was a slap in the face to California and the California taxpayers and its university who supported these labs for 50 years. It was politically motivated. I think it was selfish and unnecessary and a waste of the public's money, if you want to know what I really think. But nevertheless, that's the law. And your congressmen and senators went along with this. So you need to tell them what you think. Really.
Well, I told them, and it became apparent initially when it was going to be Berkeley scientists were going to be under the auspices of the University of Texas. That was
they were bidders along with another group. It didn't happen at Los Alamos.
That would have been a disaster.
Well, hey, I don't know how to call it, but on the other hand, I'm hopeful that the university will retain the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, and that's the best we can do at this point. But thanks for calling, Randy, and thanks for bringing up the subject. Okay, take care. Now, the third hot and heavy hour coming up here after the midnight news. I'll need another 20 or more of you. Your number, 8080810. The topic, whatever you think is the most important for millions to hear out there over this, the most listened to program and radio station. So come along. And if you're outside the immediate Bay Area, the area codes are 415-510-707-408 or 650. This is KGO, San Francisco, San Jose, Oakland at 810 on the AM dial everywhere.
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Sievertson. At least 29 people in Iraq were killed in attacks on Sunday, and an Islamic website announced 4 Russian embassy workers taken hostage in Iraq were killed by a group linked to al-Qaeda. The site posts graphic pictures showing 2 men being beheaded and a third being shot. Former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright.
I think it will have a very bad effect on the international community. I've just come back from Moscow, and I think that the Russians believe that they can play some kind of a mediating role in all of this. This clearly is going to stir up some of their population.
Albright on CNN's late edition. The top U.S. commander in Iraq, General George Casey, briefed President Bush and Pentagon leaders on a proposal to withdraw some U.S. troops soon, starting later on this year. Released 5 Afghan aid workers, including 3 employed by a Swedish agency, freed after 4 days of captivity. A suicide car bomber targeted a coalition convoy and wounded 2 Afghan civilian bystanders near a U.S. base north of the capital, Kabul. Iran says it's seriously considering a package of incentives to curtail its nuclear program and that the U.S. and other countries should give it more time. There's flash flooding and power outages after 5 to 7 inches of rain fell in and around the nation's capital and the Maryland shore. Weather Channel meteorologist Chris Dolce.
We've seen a lot of heavy rain around the D.C. area, so northeast Virginia up through Maryland, that sort of corridors where the heaviest rain has fallen, leading to numerous reports of flooding.
There are mudslides, down trees, flash flooding from Pennsylvania to Virginia through New England. The morning commute in the D.C. area is expected to be messy, and more rain's expected. Wildfires have forced closing of 2 sections of Interstate 80 in northern Nevada. It's hard to surround one of the fires, says Fire Info Officer Mike Brown in Elko, Nevada.
Dirt doesn't burn. Grass and sagebrush, things like that burn. So you try to get a line around that fire that's clear of vegetation.
You're listening to ABC News.
Imagine living truly debt-free. No credit card debt, no car payments, no mortgage. You can do this with just the money you already make and actually improve your credit score. I'm John Commuta, creator of the Transforming Debt into Wealth program. I did it, and so have more than 1 million others using my proven system.
I'm completely debt-free now, thanks to John Commuta.
I will be able to pay off my house in approximately 2.5 years on a 30-year mortgage.
It works no matter how much debt you have or how much money you make. My system doesn't consolidate your debt, it eliminates it, so you can permanently insulate your credit status. Let me send you a free tape showing you the power of my proven system.
And once we got on the system, we were able to eliminate about 90% of our debt.
Call now, and I'll rush you my free tape. Call 1-800-933-0939. 1-800-933-0939. That's 1-800-933-0939.
The Supreme Court may rule as early as Monday on a closely watched case involving detainees at the War on Terrorism detention camp at the U.S. Naval Base at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. At issue is whether President Bush had the right to order suspected terrorists to be tried before military tribunals rather than criminal courts, and whether the men, specifically a former driver for Osama bin Laden, are being denied the right to a fair trial. ABC's Terry Moran is at the prison in Guantanamo Bay and has been talking to the Americans who work there.
People here that we've talked to are proud of what they're doing here. They think that if their fellow citizens in the world got a real good look at what they actually do, that they would understand that this is not torture central, that this is a necessary facility in their judgment, given the war the United States is involved in.
Human rights groups and the UN have called for the Guantanamo detention camp to be closed. Tens of thousands wearing colorful costumes marched in San Francisco's annual Gay Pride Parade. There were also parades in New York, Atlanta, and Columbus, Ohio. What's 3 feet high and weighs 580 pounds? The rubber band ball Steve Milton's made in Eugene, Oregon, and he hopes to break the Guinness book record of 3,120 pounds for a 5-foot-tall rubber band ball. Milton works for a local insulation company and says, yes, people do think he's got a lot of time on his hands. This is ABC News.
Medulloblastoma, hyperdiploidy, posterior mediastinum, schemata classification. When an oncologist talks to you about childhood cancer, it could sound like a foreign language. CureSearch.org is a website that can help. It connects you to the doctors and scientists whose collaborative research has turned childhood cancer from a nearly incurable disease to one with an overall cure rate of 78%. CureSearch.org. You're not as alone as you feel. Brought to you by CureSearch and the Ad Council.
Chuck Severson, ABC News.
KGO Radio News Time, 12:05. Good morning. I'm Kim McAllister. Here's the latest in the Bay Area and the state. A brush fire in Contra Costa County near Antioch is now contained. Firefighters say flames consumed about 150 acres since breaking out at about 8 last night. The fire located in the area of Deer Valley Road and Empire Mine Road. Contra Costa County Fire Protection District and the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection units are still dousing the flames that are left over. A Vallejo man is freed after spending a year and a half behind bars, accused of murdering his wife. Sonoma County District Attorney dropped murder charges against Corbin Easterling, saying his wife could have died by accidental drowning. In October of 2004, prosecutors charged Easterling with killing Jennifer Easterling in the waters of San Pablo Bay after their jet ski ran aground. The couple was stranded for 19 hours before a Coast Guard crew spotted the pair. Easterling was semi-conscious, his wife floating face up, strapped in a life jacket, but dead. District Attorney Stephen Pasalacqua says a case like this depends on scientific opinion and that he acted swiftly after receiving findings from forensic pathologist Brian Peterson. Attorney for Easterling says his client never gave up hope that the truth would come out, plans to begin legal action against Sonoma County. Let's head on out to the roads right now and check traffic around the Bay Area. So far, it looks okay out there. Do have an injury accident in San Francisco. This is southbound 280 just before Highway 1. A car flipped upside down on its roof. It is in the left lane. That's South 280 just before Highway 1 in the Daly City area. North 87 at Alma Avenue. Watch for debris in the lanes of traffic there. And it looks like a bad accident in the North Bay. Petrified Forest Road at Sharp Road. Major injury accident reported there. KGO traffic brought to you by Toyota Avalon. The Toyota Avalon with an EPA estimated 31 miles per gallon on the highway, and all the little extras you desire. Avalon, where luxury meets fuel efficiency. One more thing I wanted to mention, it is a Spare the Air day today, so if you do need to use mass transit, most transit agencies offering you a free ride. And with that, let's check your KGO weather forecast. Sunny again, warm weather again, 60 of the high at the coast. Highs 98 to 100 degrees in the warmest inland areas. Right now in San Francisco, it's 62. Kim McAllister, KGO Radio News.
KGO News Talk 810.
Now we welcome a new broadcast day over station KGO San Francisco on this new day, the 26th day of June, the year 2006. This is the third and final hour of the open line to the West Coast. I'm Bill Wattenburg, your host. You're the stars of this program. When you pick up the telephone and dial the magic number, 8080810. And I'll need another 20 or more of you this hour if we're going to hit our quota, which we always do. Always have. For more than 25 years here. So come along and join in. Lines open in each area. But, gee, the emails keep pouring in. Constant theme. How dare you criticize those of us who are so righteous that we criticize our activities in Iraq and our servicemen overseas? Well, gee, that's interesting. There's no other opinion out there for you brave souls? Huh? My answer to some of your vicious stuff is I think you're covering your insecure, defensive butts with some of your viciousness, all right? Thomas in San Rafael, you're on KGO.
Dr. Bill, what a pleasure to talk to you. This is great. This is like an epiphany for me. How are you doing?
What's on your mind?
Well, I sent an email to you, and I didn't know whether it'd get to you in time, but I have to, as a combat veteran from Vietnam, and I have to say I was never in Laos for a whole year, and I have the pictures to prove it. You can never forget that these are our children that are over there. Never forget for a day that the sacrifice is higher than it's ever been before. When I was in Vietnam, I knew who the enemy was. And in most cases, and I realize in the cities and, with urban warfare and things like that, it changes. This is bad. And we have to love and embrace our children and do whatever it takes to bring them home and give them the love that we forgot to give our veterans that came home from Vietnam.
Well, all I know, Thomas, is I do not understand how anybody can argue that undermining our troops is going to be of any advantage to this country, no matter who is politically right or wrong. They can decide that in the next election. If they thought it was a horrible mistake to go to Iraq, fine, they can vote all the Democrats in and see what their solution is. Because, I suggested last fall that it was time to just back off and tell the Democrats, okay, we'll do everything you want. Let's do it your way. And the following week, a bill was put in Congress that said, bring our troops home immediately. That's what they were calling for. And guess what? All the Democrats lined up and voted no. They didn't want to do it. They don't want to take the responsibility. Okay?
You know, there's two lines, and one line is, how do you see the politics and how do you see the children that we've sent there, that are our own family, the people that we love? When I went over, I swear to you on my word of honor that the greatest day that I ever had was a letter from home.
Well, I that's what I hear from our servicemen every week, and they appreciate at least hearing a kind word from their folks at home. But look what they read every day. You know, I described at the beginning of this program, what is it the terrorists would like to see being said in the American media, and I laid it out, and they're seeing it. In fact, there's one network that specializes in it. It's called CNN. You can see it 24 hours a day. When was the last time you saw anything on CNN, covered by CNN, that showed constructive things being done by America, any worthwhile thing being done by our servicemen when they're they're doing 10,000 things all the time over there, no coverage. What they have is a British malcontent guy, Nick Robertson, who's actually speaking for the entire network, interpreting American behavior and activities in Iraq. Now, what's going on?
I make my own personal move every time I have an opportunity, and believe me, I do. I'm an employer. I hire people. I have people that are being sent there, and believe me, I'll tell you right now, I guarantee you, every time I hear this happen, I adopt the unit of the person that leaves my business, and I will send them whatever it takes to make their life a little bit more of America.
Well, there are many who are supporting our troops over there, independent of the politics, and that's all that counts. And thank you for your call here on KGO.
Thanks, Dr. Bill.
Bye-bye. Ed in San Jose, you're on KGO.
Well, hello, Dr. Bill. How are you doing?
What's on your mind, Ed?
Okay, I got a question for you. 3 wheels, the dollies, about 12 inches, filled with air.
Wait a minute. Now, what are we talking about?
We're talking about climbing a flagpole with 3 wheels, dolly-sized wheels, 3 motors, and 350 pounds attached to it.
Oh boy, I don't know where we're going. I can't even imagine. You want a machine with 3 wheels that's going to climb a flagpole?
Yeah, I already have it.
Well, so what? Tell us about it then. I'm not familiar with it.
Well, here's the question I have for you. Okay, I got 3 motors running, three-quarter horsepower up each wheel, controlled manually.
All right.
Okay. Now, what I'm having problems with is as it goes up, the wheels seem to go at different speeds, and I get cockeyed on the machine.
Boy, you know, I can't. You tell me you are climbing a flagpole, a round pole like a foot in diameter?
Yes.
And with a machine that has wheels on it?
Yes.
And what does it do? Does it straddle the pole with these wheels? Well, how can it go sideways if it's got to go up the length of the pole?
Sideways, it goes cockeyed.
All right. In other words,
one wheel will go higher than the other wheel.
In other words, it binds a little bit, huh?
Yes. Now I'm wondering. Well, the question is, how do I calibrate those wheels to move at the same speed up when it's going up?
Well, there are lots of engineering ways to do it. I don't know if you have the means to do it because it's easy to measure the rotation of a wheel and match it with another one. But your problem is, no, hold a second. It's not easy to measure how much a wheel might be slipping. You see, to do that, you have to measure the velocity of the vehicle and calculate the rotation of the wheel. And from what you're describing, I think you've got a problem of one wheel slipping when another one isn't, huh?
No, well, I've got pictures. So the prototype's already out, and we've analyzed it going up. And it's not a slippage problem. The problem is in the motors. They're 3/4 inch horsepower.
No, I understand what you're saying, but when you're saying
the speed's different, they're not slipping. The speed's different on the turn.
All right, so you're saying that the wheels are actually being rotated at different speeds.
It appears that way. Because of the way...
I'd be willing to bet you it may appear that way, but you're also going to find that if the wheels are not synchronized, one or more of them has to be slipping. It can't be otherwise, you see. And when that happens, then you've got a more difficult problem in trying to control it.
Okay, but one more quick. 3/4 inch horsepower motors and it climbs fine, but it just gets cockeyed sometimes, and you think that's slipping. It's nothing to do with the motors or in synchronicity together.
I don't know. I can't tell you without making some measurements. It's very straightforward to control the motors if you're familiar with the control circuitry that's available.
But you're going to have it all worked out.
You're going to have to design it into your machine. That's all I can say. And not seeing it or being able to test it, I can't tell you anymore. I can't give you any more advice there. But hey, good luck. Thanks for calling. Right. KGO time now, 12:16.
Let the midnight special.
That's what it is.
Shine a light on me. Let the midnight special. Shine a light on me.
Hey, Sam in Palm Springs. You're on KGO, San Francisco.
Dr. Bell?
Yes.
Yes, I called last night, but I was cut off. But I wanted to find out, to get your comments on the acidification of the sea, the ocean. Basically, it's that the carbon dioxide changes the chemistry changes the pH of the ocean water. You see,
yes,
and that of course is. I thought perhaps if we could all over the world we could plant maybe about 50,000, 100,000 trees. That would help to absorb some of the CO2. I want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, there's no question that the more trees and forests you have, the more CO2 you may be absorbed. No, it's called fixing carbon.
Yeah.
When you pull in the CO2, you fix the carbon in the carbon dioxide. You fix it in the form of plant material.
Yes.
And on the other hand, the Kyoto treaties and these people claiming that they want to change the economy of the world, give no credit for countries that are rapidly increasing their forests, such as the United States. We have 3 times as many trees growing, young trees that are growing, not old dead trees standing there.
Yes.
3 times as many young trees growing today as we did before man arrived here. See, because the forests are younger.
Yes.
But you get no benefit for that.
Yeah. We should plant more trees. This is what I'm saying.
There's no question.
No question
I heartily agree with you, and so does the rest of the world.
We should make an effort to do that throughout the world. Not
Okay.
in this country, but all over the world.
Sam, well said, and I agree with you. Okay, take care. Walter, where is it? Eganville, Washington? How do you pronounce it, Walter?
Eatonville. E-A-T-O-N.
Eatonville. Okay, you're up in the great state of Washington, huh?
Right.
What's on your mind, Walter?
Yeah, I'd like to ask you a question. If you've ever thought about this, and I know you have, is that a society that would be, everybody's talking about UFOs and everything, a society would be 100 years ahead of us, would know a lot of things we don't know now. Now, if you were to take one that was 500 years ahead of us, or 1,000 years ahead of us, then you're making dramatic jumps. And the reason I asked about this, because I started thinking about Jesus, and the last thing he did before he died, he raised somebody from the dead. Now, if there was a society that was only 1,000 years ahead of us, not let alone maybe 5,000 years ahead of us, they'd be doing things like that, wouldn't they? I mean,
well, I have no way of knowing. You see, it's all guesswork. The only thing I can say for certain is there may well be such civilizations or living organisms out in the universe. It's almost unthinkable to say that there isn't something out there for the vast number of stars and bodies and planets that exist. But the other thing, if they are there, they're so far away that it may be many, many tens of thousands or millions of years before there's ever a chance we'd know or encounter them, you see. So there's the main reason why I don't think your question is going to be answered in the near future.
Well, Bill?
The closest star is light years away from us, see?
Right. Well, they'd have to deal with that problem then.
Well, if they're smart enough and they can figure out how to violate the rules of special relativity as we understand them, then we might know them sooner. But other than that, that's the only advice, that's the only wisdom I can give you, Walter. And thanks for calling KGO.
Bill.
That's all I can do on that subject. KGO time 12:23. Sacramento. You're on KGO San Francisco.
Hello, Dr. Wattenberg. Say, my question involves plug-in hybrids. They seem to be all the rage here.
You mean hybrid cars?
Hybrids, yeah.
That they plug in and think they're extending their gas mileage.
Yeah, but my problem, my question is, they use a metal hydride battery, and I wonder if they're going to work. Because a metal hydride battery has quite a drop-off in voltage as you try to take the energy out of the battery. So if they think they're going to go 100 miles on those batteries, it seems to me they're down to half voltage to a quarter voltage when they get done, and that would hardly do it, would it?
But that's the point at which the battery ceases to be sufficient to keep them going. But first of all, the whole thing is a stupidity. They think, and they're bragging, and they make suckers out of reporters, so-called environmental reporters all over the place. When they plug their car into the power plug at home to charge a battery, they're actually using more fossil fuel energy to go the same miles than if they just burn gasoline to begin with, or diesel if they happen to have a diesel hybrid, not many around, because they don't take into account that the power plant has to produce the electricity, the losses in the power plant, the losses in the transmission line, the losses in their battery charger, and they think that's free. So when they say that's free, that the energy they get in their bigger battery, then they brag that they're getting 100 miles a gallon. Well, the suckers, I mean, they're idiots, technical idiots, because they don't realize they're paying even more than if they just put gasoline in the car.
But do you think the battery, they're able to pull that car and the?
I don't know. Look, I don't know the characteristics of the batteries that well. I know some people are selling bigger batteries to go in their cars to try to extend the mileage that they can run on battery power.
But I'm reading here out of a physics book, and they definitely drop off the voltage as the charge goes down. They're not like a lead-acid battery.
Okay, well, that may be a problem, but there is some charge for which they can power the vehicle some distance. I don't know what it is. But whatever it is, it's a fraud for them to say that they're getting better gas mileage or extending their mileage, getting hundreds of miles per gallon, because that they don't take into account what they have to pay in the utility bill and the waste of fossil fuels that it takes to generate the electricity. So that's as far as I go and know so far. I don't know the battery characteristics. You may be right, Don.
Okay, thank you.
Take care. And Ed in Chico, one of my favorite places. Ed, you're on KGO.
Hi, yes, I am going to be purchasing a vehicle here in the next few months, and caught a commercial tonight that said they had an engine that can switch between 4 and 8 cylinders and back.
Yes.
And I'm curious about, A, if it's, how it operates, and B, if it's a good design.
It's a good design. It's been around for a long time. Actually, the so-called 468 engine was available, back in the early 90s. It just simply wasn't well designed. But they simply cut some of the cylinders to reduce the fuel usage at cruising speeds when you don't need all the horsepower.
So did they just cut the ignition and gas, or is there some sort of mechanical...
nowadays with the computerized timing and fuel metering, you can do most anything you like. The best way to do it is also to change the valve timing a bit, and they may be doing some of that, I don't know. Because ideally, you see, if you cut the fuel going to a cylinder, then you'd like to also cut any resistance force in that cylinder, wouldn't you? That means you want to keep the intake valve open and the exhaust valves open, or both, you see? Now, that's the ideal way to do it. Whether they're doing that or not, I don't know. Okay. But it is effective. I've seen some of the experimental data. There's no harm to the engine, obviously. And why not?
Sure.
Are you talking about the Chevy?
Well, I'm not. I believe it was Chevy.
Yeah. General Motors is doing this. Some other manufacturers have done or will be doing it. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. Very good.
Take care, Ed. Thank you. And here's Kim McAllister with a KGO News Update.
Dr. Bill, thank you. Good morning, everyone. It is an update now from KGO Radio. National reconciliation on the mind of Iraq's Prime Minister. Nouri al-Maliki has proposed a 24-point plan aimed at curbing the insurgency as well as sectarian killings. The proposal includes prisoner amnesty for those who didn't commit criminal and terrorist acts and war crimes against humanity. Senator Russ Feingold of Wisconsin believes the only reason that the Bush administration continues to occupy Iraq in full force is to avoid the appearance of being wrong about the war. Democrat Feingold told NBC's Meet the Press that the only logical reason to stay in Iraq seems to be that President Bush and Vice President Cheney could be right about the war.
That appears to be the only logical reason to stay in a situation that is draining our military, that is hurting our recruiting, that is allowing Osama bin Laden to have us exactly where he wants us.
Last week, the U.S. Senate rejected an amendment co-sponsored by Feingold that called for the redeployment of all U.S. troops from Iraq by July 1st of next year. Feingold said the American public understands it is time to set a timetable for the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Iraq. Fortune magazine reporting that billionaire Warren Buffett is planning to donate the majority of his Berkshire Hathaway fortune to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Buffett is the world's second richest man. He's estimated to be worth about $44 billion. According to Fortune, Buffett has pledged to gradually give 85% of his Berkshire stock to 5 foundations. 5/6 of that is expected to go to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Here in the Bay Area, a brush fire in Contra Costa County near Antioch contained but not yet out. Firefighters say the flames consumed about 150 acres since breaking out at about 8 last night in the area of Deer Valley Road and Empire Mine Road. On the roadways, today is Spare the Air Day, so most Bay Area transit agencies offering you a free ride. In the South Bay, South 101 at the Tully Road off-ramp, a car went off the road and into a ditch there. East 80 at Willow Avenue in the East Bay is spin out in the left lane of traffic. And South 85 just before South Winchester Boulevard, it is a deer walking around in the lanes of traffic there. KGO traffic brought to you by Mattress Discounters. Now at Mattress Discounters, every Simmons Beauty Rest and Sealy Posturepedic mattress set is on sale. Plus, you'll sleep free for up to 12 months on approved credit. Mattress Discounters have a good night's sleep for less. KGO weather forecast. It's sunny skies expected for your Monday. Highs in the 60s at the coast. Upper 90s to 100 in the warmest inland areas for your Monday. Outside right now, we've got Santa Rosa checking in with 57, 63 in San Jose, Concord 65, San Francisco 56. Kim McAllister, KGO Radio News.
News Talk Radio means we try to give you the news. I'll give you a little of the other part of the news that you don't hear commonly reported. In the news update, we had a full recap of what was said by Democratic opponent Senator Feingold, who sponsored an amendment in the Senate last week to cut and run and admit defeat. Today he had some outspoken, he was very outspoken in some of his sharp commentary that you've heard repeated several times here on the news breaks in KGO, but you didn't hear anything from Chuck Hagel, for instance, the Republican senator, who spent equal amount of time on the news shows today, who said just the opposite and gave arguments for why America cannot afford to cut and run and admit defeat in the face of the terrorists who today again are bragging about cutting other people's heads off, human beings. I think they might deserve some equal weight. Of course, you'd never hear that in San Francisco. But the majority of American citizens, according to polls, even if they have misgivings about why we went into Iraq, with all the encouragement of top Democrats, by the way, in spite of that, the majority of American citizens are not in favor of cutting and running and admitting defeat in the face of the outspoken enemy right in our face over there. I think that's news. Sean in Oakland, you're on KGO. All right, well, Sean, you're...
the Punch-Up Supreme, please?
All right, well, look, we have to get Wes in Fortuna then. I don't know what you're doing there, Sean, but we'll get back to you. Wes in Fortuna.
Well, I'd like to find out, at one time you said that you don't change your oil filter, or your oil, you change the oil filters.
Well, I've told you many times, oil does not wear out.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, I understand that.
It gets dirty,
yeah.
But look, you can go much longer periods of time if you change the oil filter periodically, say every 8,000 miles in moderate driving. The oil's perfectly good. As a matter of fact, the oil they drain out of your car every 3,000 or 4,000 miles, if you're foolish enough, they just sell it to a recycling place that takes it home, cleans it up, puts it back in a can, and resells it to you again.
Okay.
See?
Well, that sounds good. Then I just worried about it. I didn't know exactly what criteria was
look, there's a good rule of thumb. If you're driving a car at moderate duty cycle, you're not in road races at full throttle all the time, high temperature. You 8,000, 10,000 miles, an oil change perfectly okay. Change the filters, say every 6,000 miles.
Well, I bought a good filter to put on there. $12 filter.
Well, that's the key thing. Look, big trucking companies are not stupid. Many of them go 30, 40, 50,000 miles between oil changes because of the expense of the oil. But they change the filters periodically to keep the oil clean. That's all.
I think just keep the oil clean would be the best.
That's your best answer, and change it at least once a year. Oil does build up some acids over a period of time that can
bother anything too much.
Well, that's what an oil filter neutralizes too. You see,
it neutralizes that.
Okay, but change the filter. Look, change your oil at least once a year. Or every 8,000 miles, you'll be okay. Okay. Paul in San Francisco, you're on KGO.
Yeah, hi, Bill. I'd much rather ask you a question about Pyramid Lake and Smoke Creek Desert, but I saw on the main newspaper in San Francisco one of their crummy headlines again, all about this Iranian president, and they had quotes, somebody saying he's the only one that stood up to the United States and Israel, and there's not anywhere mentioned in this crummy article about what he's been saying about what should happen to the Jews and all the rest of it. And it is so obviously slanted. It was really just a moment today. I saw that and I thought, I don't know if I really want to pick up that paper.
Well, you should tell them. You'll find opinions passed off as journalism everywhere, certainly on this program. I'm highly opinionated. Many disagree with me. You ought to see the email I get from the defensive ones out there.
Yeah, I just was angry to see how the subject was being treated.
Well, then you should write them a letter or call their editors and let them know, really.
Because, I've been reading about what that guy's been saying, and I don't like what I read about what he's been saying.
Well, the Iranian president has been very outspoken about killing Americans, all Jews, we're the evil Satans. I imagine it's worth reporting or reminding folks. If is someone trying to portray him as a really nice person? Is that it?
Oh, well, the tenor of the art, I mean, the way it comes across, you don't hear anything about Jews. I don't know. I didn't read it all the way through. I was just incensed.
Well, I don't know where they're coming from. I haven't seen the story, but you should tell them, okay?
Yeah, Bill, and you know, when you came into the Smoke Creek Desert there to the pass, I was just curious where you came through when you rode into that area.
Came right over the hills from Smoke Creek side in California.
Oh,
you just head due east, right over the ridge tops, and you drop over into the Gerlach area.
Yeah, well,
as I recall, when we got on the Nevada side, we cut a little bit southeast from there to get to Gerlach.
Yeah,
take a look on the map. All I remember is one time riding with Old Dagger, we got hit with a thunderstorm. We started out on a Saturday morning, and it was Sunday evening before we made it to Gerlach. And I'll tell you, it was one of the most miserable rides I ever had in my life.
Yeah, when it comes down the desert, it really does.
Oh man, we tried to bed down under juniper trees. It hit about noon on Saturday, and we were about halfway there. And we spent a good 6 hours under the juniper trees, and then it slacked off for a little while. We tried to ride in the evening. It hit again that night. We were hiding under some rocks until morning. And that was so bad and wet. I actually was crouched underneath the horse after a while. No, it was coming down so bad it was that bad, you know.
No, it's pretty dramatic when it rains up there. I love it. I love it anyway. But anyway.
Yeah, Bill. Most of the time it's so dry the jackrabbits stand alongside the road begging water in tin cups, you know. And then boy, when it rains, you need a boat.
Sure do. Hey,
thanks for calling. Take care, Paul. KGO time now, 12:44. KGO on the open line to the West Coast this morning. And, of course, I'll be back next Saturday, Sunday, 10 p.m. to 1 as usual, on the most listened to program on the radio station. Aaron in Fremont. Quick shot here, Aaron. You're on KGO.
Hi. I don't have a yay or nay pro or not against on the Iraq war, just actually how it's being handled. But just going back to a gentleman who came up with some statistics that you disagree with, I have some of my own. I'll run by you. The poll in the Arab world, the large majority believe that 9/11, well, we did it to ourselves, or it never really happened.
Yeah, sure. The large majority, these are very well known and publicized, believe it was all a conspiracy, that either the Bush administration or the Jews set it up to make the Arabs look bad. Do you believe that?
Well,
look. The point is, do you believe?
No, I don't.
Okay, then why are we giving it airtime? Move on to something else. It's stupid. It's stupid.
Well, Palestinians, 87% believe that all Israelis should be executed.
Yes.
Then they passed a law in Iraq that killing Americans or coalition persons has no penalty.
Yeah, that was when Saddam Hussein was in charge.
No, that was this week.
Oh, you mean killing Americans has no penalty?
Right.
And who passed this law? Hey, who passed this law in Iraq?
They're going to give amnesty.
Aaron, who passed this law? No, the amnesty that Maliki offered said if you have committed no crimes or atrocities, you will be considered for amnesty. Okay.
So
did you read the proclamation?
I heard it on the news.
Yeah, you heard it. Did you read the 23 points?
Not.
Aaron,
No.
Okay, well, when you do, Aaron, when you do, we'll waste airtime on it. Okay, Nancy in Alameda, you're on KGO.
Thank you, Bill. I wanted to know two quick things. Why don't they put microchips in the soldiers so they can be found if they're kidnapped? And I thought sometime back that you invented something to put on the vehicles that they drive that would be out in front so that it would blow up those bombs before it blew up the Humvees.
No, we're still working on things like that. The Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory in many places, but it's a tremendously difficult problem. There's no easy solution to that. Let's back up about the microchip. So that's been asked by many. I answered that on the Ron Owens program last week. What people don't realize is the microchip that you're used to that is put in pets, for instance, to identify them, or the RFI chip that's called that could be put into products that is read when you take the product to the check stand. Those things are only effective at short distances. You can't put that chip in someone who might be 10 miles away or in a city and detect the chip from an airplane or from 100 yards away, you see. These chips, first of all, only respond when you send them a message, an electromagnetic signal, at close range. Then what the little chip does is it gives back a little radio signal of its own, saying this is who I am, see? But it's only at close range. You can't have an airplane overhead sending that signal down, and the little chip doesn't have enough power to send a signal back that goes very far, you see, a few feet at the most.
That's too bad.
Well, it is, and that's of course the misconception about these identification chips or things. They can't be used for that purpose. If you really wanted to put something in a human being that could notify you where that human being is from with a signal going to an airplane, you really have to build a substantial circuit of some sort that is embedded in the human being, and that would be easily detected by others, you see.
Yes, they'd probably kill the poor man to try and find it.
What they would do is the people we're dealing with would be immediately kill the person that had it or cut it out, see, and then it's just out of the question. But yeah, I hope I help you there, Nancy, huh?
Thank you.
All right. Jim in Sweet Home, Oregon, the great state of Oregon.
Hello, Dr. Wattenburg?
Yes.
Yes, first off, I'd like to say that I endorse John McCain for president any day of the week.
Well, he is a very sincere guy. I had a time to talk to him for a good part of an hour, and I was most impressed. And look, there are very few who understand the horrors of war and sacrifice any better than he does.
What I'm saying is, if he doesn't, like I said, he could be the loyal opposition like they have in England, just sit in that Senate and You know what I'm saying?
Well, he's a sincere guy, yes.
That's what I'm saying. You don't get many of those anymore.
Yeah.
The wishy-washy. The other thing was, did you see the Wall Street Journal the other day on Thursday, the front page of it?
No, I didn't.
If you would look at that, I could...
Well, what does it say? I mean, why tell me there's something there? What is it? Just tell us what it is.
All right, it's about the pensions.
All right, well, what about the pensions? You mean the general... You mean
it
the general...
has to do
general...
with the levels of the executives versus the classified. It's too complicated for me, but I read it.
Well, in general, if you're talking about the fact that the executives continue to make more and more in American corporations or corporations around the world, at the same time pensions are being cut, yeah, I think it's vulgar. Okay.
Well, there was a. If I'm incorrect on this, excuse me, but what they said was that basically the United Auto Workers from GM are putting money back into GM from their pension fund because they have a surplus. But all these other ones, including the executives, are not recorded on the book. It's too complicated.
Well, if it's so complicated we can't explain it, we're wasting airtime. I don't understand what you're saying either.
I appreciate, but if you would look at the article,
I'll try to take a look at it. We can discuss it intelligently next time. Okay. Hey, thanks for calling, Jim. KGO time now 12:54. To go here on the open line to the West Coast this morning, and as I'll remind you again, I'll be back next Saturday, Sunday, 10 to 1 on the most listened to program and radio station, KGO, so be sure to come along then. Doris in San Mateo, let's get you in here, Doris.
A couple of weeks ago, when you were about ready to sign off to John Rothman, you called him the expert on politics, and I was wondering why you don't agree with him.
Well, because he has a tremendous knowledge of and the history of politics, but you know the nature of politics is opinion, and we all have different opinions. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't, but that doesn't mean someone is not very well versed in the subject of politics. That's what I was referring to. In John's case, is a wealth of information on both the history.
Don't you agree with him?
Not on every subject, no. Why?
But of all the things he called the Bush administration, they were liars, and we've been and he's
I believe
he's against the Iraq War.
I believe some of his heroes are liars. Have you heard me replay? I don't want to say they're John's heroes, but I'm saying the opposition. Have you heard me replay the actual statements made by John Kerry, Nancy Pelosi, and others? What do you think of them?
Well, I like John Rossman likes him. Ask John Rossman.
Well, that's fine, but I mean, if Bush is a liar, then what do you call them?
I don't think they are. Well,
oh, you don't think they are? Did you hear John Kerry say exactly what Bush was saying and why we should go into
what John Rossman says, and I was asking why you don't believe in John Rossman.
You're entitled. In fact, John's right here. We're going to be talking. John, are you with us?
I am, Dr. Bill, and I will tell you, as it's an interesting question, but I have to tell you, I happen to think that there's no better person on science than Dr. Bill. And as in politics, there are very often differences. Dr. Bill asked me last night, all too quickly, and I know I've only got a couple of minutes here, but about the global warming thing. And somebody asked me, and I said, I honestly don't know the answer on global warming. What I know is that the Earth is warming, whether it is because of what man is doing or because there's a natural phenomenon, which Dr. Bill has explained, and which, frankly, is probably at the bottom of all this. The natural warming of the Earth is something we have to determine. I was intrigued, Dr. Bill, by a study that showed that despite the Kyoto Treaty and many nations working to reduce global warming, that nothing has happened substantially. No. And the reason seems to be, at least this is what the premise is of many, that global warming is a natural process, as is global cooling.
All right, but there is another possibility. You see, also, if you look at Asia and China and the others, they have rapidly accelerated the burning of coal, the production of CO2, and they're excluded from these treaties, you see. And if that's the cause of global warming, they're making it much worse while we're making feeble efforts to cut back somewhere else.
And as always, Bill, I'll be listening for you and your commentary on that subject.
Well, now you're coming up for Ray Taliaferro.
I am. I'll be in tonight for Ray, and we'll talk about a whole panoply of issues, including the Middle East, the question of whether San Francisco should have its own health insurance program, and whether we should raise the salaries of state lawmakers.
All right, well, you stay tuned for John Rothman here on KGO. And for KGO, thank you. You've been a marvelous audience. This is KGO, San Francisco, San Jose, Oakland, at 810 on the AM dial, everywhere.
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Sievertson. Wild weather creates havoc east and west. 5 to 7 inches of rain's fallen in the Washington, D.C. area to the Maryland shore. Flooding also in Pennsylvania and Delaware. Power outages, flash flooding, mudslides. A crew hooks up a car stuck in floodwaters in Germantown, Maryland. They had to rescue the driver, Patty Damiano, trapped inside. The water overflowed from a swollen creek.
Crossed over the street, and I went ahead to put my brakes on, and the whole current took me, so my car was stuck against the guardrail, and then the water started coming up from under the car. I was up to the window, so I was flipping out, and then thank God they came and got me out.
ABC meteorologist Heidi Jones.
A lot of systems do move from west to east into the northeast corridor. This did move, and it was no problem once it came in, but what happened was it stalled, and it basically sat over the northeast corridor, and that produced rainfall anywhere from Virginia all the way up through the northeast, between 2 and 7 inches of rain within a 24 to 48-hour period.
More rains expected, especially in interior New England today. Western wildfires, several have caused 2 sections of Interstate 80 in northeastern Nevada to be closed down. Mike Brown's Elko, Nevada, fire info officer.
We had lightning storm came through, started 9 fires. Some of those grew together. A couple of them went large.
And firefighters say half of a 4,200-acre brush fire near Sedona, Arizona has been contained. Fire info officer David Eaker.
Some residents have been allowed to go back, but portions of the southern stretch of Oak Creek Canyon are still under an evacuation order.
More than 300 homes and businesses are still evacuated near Sedona, Arizona. U.S. soldier has been reported killed in Afghanistan, and attacks killed at least 29 people in Iraq on Sunday. The commander of U.S. forces in Iraq has briefed President Bush on a pullout of about 7,000 troops starting in September. It would finish up by the end of next year. You're listening to ABC News.
You may be sitting there right now wondering how you're going to make it through the day, the night, the next plane flight, job interview, or social event. Maybe you'll have a drink. Maybe you'll take another pill. Maybe you're so anxious and depressed that you just really can't help yourself. Do you worry yourself sick, beat yourself up, or put yourself down? Anxiety and depression are 2 of the most common reasons people take prescription medication, abuse alcohol, and make excuses for why their life isn't working. This isn't the real you. You used to be happy and have confidence and dreams, remember? Well, it's time to get it back. You owe it to yourself to pick up the phone and call for a powerful free tape that could help you get your life back. You want to feel better. You just don't know what to do. I'm Lucinda Bassett, founder of the Midwest Center for Stress and Anxiety. Please, let me help you help yourself.
For your free tape that could change your life, call 1-800-446-2204. That's 1-800-446-2204. 1-800-446-2204.
The billionaire investor Warren Buffett, chief executive of Berkshire Hathaway, says he'll be giving the bulk of his roughly $44 billion fortune to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It was established by the Microsoft billionaire and his wife. ABC's Bob Jameson.
In a letter detailing the donation, Buffett told Bill and Melinda Gates, "You have applied truly unusual intelligence, energy, and heart to improve the lives of millions who have not been as lucky as the three of us." In a statement, Gates and his wife said, "We are awed by our friend Warren Buffett's decision. We have a tremendous opportunity to make a difference in people's lives."
Buffett is 75. Somebody apparently lost a casket. ABC's Joan Bennett says it was found on the south side of Tucson, Arizona, Saturday.
Two people playing paintball in a desert area off Interstate 10 found the casket, silver, metallic, with a U.S. Army insignia on it. The coffin was empty, but sheriff's investigators say evidence suggests that it had been inhabited recently. They took DNA samples and put out a nationwide alert, hoping to find the remains, they think, of a soldier. A deputy said Tucson has lots of cemeteries. It could be from anywhere.
If he doesn't have all the luck, he has more than most of us. Bill Farner of Joseph, Oregon. He won $1 million in a promotion on the Howard Stern Show, and now Farner's got the winning ticket in the Oregon Lottery's Megabucks game, $8.8 million before taxes. And he says he's now retired. This is ABC News.
They say the best things in life are free. So, hey, why are we paying so much for our basic information and entertainment needs? The average cable TV bill has more than doubled in the last 10 years. The price of movie tickets keeps going up. So, exactly what is free today anyway? Well, you're listening to it. Local radio. Support the advertisers that support this radio station. And keep listening. We won't send you a bill. There are still some things you just shouldn't have to pay for.
Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
And for KGO News Talk 810, our own Kim McAllister, who's going to give us an update on news, traffic, sports, and weather. And Kim, it is always a pleasure.
On World News Tonight, could your morning cup of joe help save your life? You may be surprised to hear about the common diseases coffee may help prevent. The life-saving benefits of coffee tonight on ABC 7.
Whoops, that was a little mishap.
Are you okay there, Kim?
I'm okay. I think I'm coming back to life.
Good. I'm glad to be here with you.
I'm glad to be here with you. What a great surprise.
We'll have a great morning.
Well, good morning, everyone. It is an update now from KGO Radio. Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger is refusing a White House request to send an additional 1,500 National Guard troops to the U.S.-Mexico border. The troops were needed to fill in shortfalls in New Mexico and Arizona. The California National Guard confirmed Friday that Schwarzenegger said no. Bad weekend for fires. A brush fire in Contra Costa County near Antioch is contained, but not yet out. Firefighters say the flames consumed about 150 acres since breaking out at 8 last night near Deer Valley Road and Empire Mine Road. And CDF firefighters have a Santa Clara County forest fire fully contained now. The flames started Friday night near Henry Coe State Park, forcing campers and tourists out. Fire ate through 150 acres of wildland before crews got a handle on it last evening. One firefighter injured. The oldest store in Petaluma, now a pile of rubble. Tomasini's Rex Ace Hardware had been in business since 1907. Saturday night, the historic old wooden building went up in a 3-alarm fire while hundreds gathered downtown to watch. The cause still unclear, but it is thought to be accidental in nature. On the roadways today, the Spare the Air Day. Most Bay Area transit agencies offering you a free ride today. Daly City, an accident. This is on the 280 freeway, reported right near Highway 1, South 280 before Highway 1. Injury accident. It was first reported in the left lane, then the right. We do know there's slow traffic in that area. West 580 just after Doherty Road. Watch for a spin out on the shoulder. And road work leaving San Francisco. Various lanes closed out to the island. East 80. KGO Traffic brought to you by McDonald's. The best beef makes the best burgers. That's why McDonald's always uses top quality 100% beef from the double cheeseburger to the Big Mac. You can taste the difference at McDonald's. KGO weather forecast, super